Do you want to go first, Foge, or do you want me to dive in?
You start. I've been talking too much.
I'm Brandon Dillon. I'm the co-founder of 2Weeks alongside my buddy Richard Foge.
And I'm Richard Foge, CCO and co-founder at 2Weeks.
We worked together for a really long time. We first met at ArenaNet, where we worked on some secret prototype stuff that was very exciting. But the best part of that time was getting to know Richard and forming a close friendship and a strong, creative, collaborative relationship as well.
I started my career primarily doing design work, and have over time incorporated a lot of technical tasks and started doing quite a bit of programming on my own, which is a lot of fun.
I was a sort of math and science kid and always kind of figured I'd wind up doing something with computers. But my conception of that early in my life was that, I'd wind up working at a bank doing database software or something. And so when I learned that video games were made by actual people, and they had all kinds of creative disciplines, I got really hooked to working with great artists and designers and people in every role in games. It takes all kinds of people to make them, and it's super fun. And as an individual, right? If you're one of a team of 5, you're going to have a huge impact on what you're building. And if you're one of a team of 300, even if you're in a leadership position, right, your influence is going to wind up being a lot smaller. And that's the kind of art I like. It's the kind of games that I like, and so I'm really excited to be building a company where that's core to what we do on a game by game basis.
Goodness, you so much of your history is my history now. That the overlaps are so good, and it's funny because I did have a career before you. It's funny, it used to be this point of pride thing. I used to get all excited when I'd tell people I worked at Atari, but now it makes me feel incredibly old. Where did you get your start in video games? Oh, Atari. I should have a monocle. We're all typing.
Double Fine was making a lot of small games at that point, and it was an opportunity to work on a whole bunch of different projects and wear a lot of different hats. And a thing that we did at Double Fine that was really influential for me in the rest of my career was a process that Tim Schafer created called Amnesia Fortnight, where you would take a couple of weeks off from what you were doing normally, forget all about that, and then go make new prototypes for new games. And the level of creativity that we got out of that, and the just joy of mixing things up and trying things was really validating. 2 weeks is enough time to really do collaborative work. If you're doing a short game jam for 48 hours or something, there's not really enough time to collaborate and riff off of each other's ideas and build. But 2 weeks winds up being a kind of perfect crucible of enough time to build something, but not enough time to really get lost in the weeds. You really have to stay focused and prioritize the right things. And it was a big influence for what we're doing here. It's why the company is called 2 Weeks. It's the right amount of time to test a new idea. And then I went from there to Oculus, where we took some of that same prototyping methodology and used it to build all the stuff. Initially, the things that we would show at trade shows, the demos that we would put people through when they came by to try our prototype headsets. But a lot of that turned into the new user experience stuff that you would see when you bought a new headset the first time, and we wanted to show you something magical to show you the potential of the VR device that you had just bought. So that was a lot of fun, but eventually the pull was too strong to not go back into doing proper game development, and so back at it now with my buddy Richard.
Mostly I just want to make horse games with you.
Yes, I want to make horse games too. The very first thing that we built is Home Stretch Bet, and it's probably not that not one that we're likely to reinvest in, because horse racing has a pretty problematic history, and gambling is not necessarily a place that we want to spend a lot of time and effort. But Foge knows that I love Japanese horse racing simulators, where you take care of the horses and you submit them to races and you breed them with each other and you make new ones. And they're really funny games because you sit at these booths and often you have 2 buttons you can push. They're very simple games, but they're super fun to watch and play. And so Foge basically designed a game specifically to appeal to me, to convince me that we should work together on this new company, and that's where Homestretch Bet came from. So probably won't change a lot, but if you want to watch some cute horses racing around with a game of Texas Hold'em going on at the same time, it's a little bit of a love letter between Foge and I.
That's how I talk. Eventually, I just run out of gas.
Yeah. So, there were a lot of motivations for starting 2Weeks. The first really was actually like the selfish thing at the heart of it is Foge and I love working together, and we had some conversations about like what do we want to be doing next. And it's like we want to be making more games. And we have noticed, there's just been this broad trend in the industry over the last couple of decades, really, where games take longer and longer to make, and teams need to be larger and larger in order to make them, at least in the AAA space. And so you start doing the math where, especially like, we're on our third decade of video game development, and you start thinking about like, okay, well, like we have friends that are working on projects that are going to be in development for 5 years, 7 years, 9 years. How many of those can we like fit left in our career, right? And then the worst part being that, like, those big games are getting riskier. Like, we're seeing more and more high-profile failures.
I mean, it's funny because, like, you touched on this quite a bit. Like, some of it was the games that we worked on together, we were just kind of going through this process. But the number of times that you and I would be working on something that was maybe a bit bigger, and in that more traditional model of, hey, this is a one big project that we're working on and it's going to take us years, one or the other of us would pitch something based on whatever, something was going on or some idea we had. I love thinking about games when I do long drives, and I would come back to Brandon with some random thing and be like, it'd be cool, is this idea? And he'd be like, yeah, that would be cool, but we couldn't make it. Right? Not really. Even if it would be quick, because we both had, this other thing that we were doing that took the bulk of our time. And so we would talk about doing stuff together and kind of couldn't. And it wasn't until I very specifically pitched Homestretch Bet to Brandon as a motivator to get him to the point to get tweaks to where I could use it, because he'd been working on it for a while, like as this kind of hobby thing, and I was like, well, what if I could actually do something with it? And so I goaded him into it with a fun little horse game, and stuff like that makes me really happy. Experimental, small little social ideas, the kind of stuff that like it really is impossible to get greenlit right now, because a lot of the bigger companies, like Brandon was saying, like it's not necessarily risk aversion, but it comes from a similar space of like, why would I put time and money into this weird new thing that you're proposing instead of putting that directly into something that we know is going to make us a bunch of money, because it already is.
The thing I'm most interested in making are games that help people spend quality time with their friends, right? Like, you can make a lot of different types of games, but the ones that I've found most rewarding personally have been the ones where, it was a great way to pass the time with people that I cared about. And I think that, especially, I think we live in a alienating time where it's harder to connect with people, and there are fewer opportunities to meet people where they're at, and I just really value games as throughout history games have been a way that people have connected with each other, but I think it's just more important now than ever. And that's what I want to make. And so when it comes to we're very interested in making multiplayer games, but not necessarily ones where you're directly competitive with your friends. I'm much more interested in ones where there's a cooperative relationship and you can spend time helping each other out. Or even things that are not multiplayer, but are fun ways to kind of be in an encouraging relationship with the community of other players. I love it when a new Animal Crossing comes out and everyone's playing it, and you can go visit other people's islands and see how their personality is reflected in the way that they've customized their villages, and That's the kind of stuff that increasingly motivates me, is stuff that gives people opportunities for self-expression and hanging out and having fun.
Yeah, helping to, I think helping make connections is like the biggest thing. Strengthening the connections that are already there is like probably the thing that we're going to be targeting the most. Like, spending quality time with your friends is amazing, and we learned a lot over the years, and our past company, we had some really smart people in this space, and one of the things that I love the most is that virtual adventures are like the same as doing something in person. It's the same as going out and hiking and seeing something together, or traveling and having an adventure. Like, you remember things the same way. They feel like this. A lot of people end up having very like, remember when we did this? And it doesn't have to have been a real physicalized experience that they went and have. The digital version, or the imagined, the role play, like all of that stuff, it really matters, and people end up bonding in the same way that they would being on a sports team together, or going out and traveling together. Like, playing these games together is really meaningful for helping people develop stronger bonds to each other, and that's a big part of what we want to do.
Web games were huge in the early 2000s. It was really vibrant space. Like, there were a lot of platforms like Congregate and Newgrounds that were really foundational, both for gamers and also game developers. A lot of really inspiring work was happening there. And then it all died when Flash died. There hasn't really been a good substitute for it on the web since then. But incrementally, inch by inch, the technology has gotten better and better, and now you can build pretty credible games in a browser. And that was just very exciting to us, looking at sort of the opportunities that existed in the sort of traditional game space, where games are getting harder and harder to make, and it's getting harder and harder for those games to break through with an audience because all of the traditional platforms are really overcrowded. We think that it's primed to kind of happen again on the web, and that you'll see this effervescence of new ideas and cool experiences, and more players happy to try out games there. Saying that I want to make games that are great for kind of social connection is not very specific about genre, right? And in fact, actually, I think one of the things we're excited to do is try a bunch of ideas that are pretty far apart from each other, and see what really connects with people, and really be led by our community of players, and seeing what they respond to and where we can double down. Because the most fun that I ever have working on games is when you get into that loop of make something, you get to test it with people, you see what they like, you see what they're struggling with, you make the stuff that they're struggling with better, you double down on the stuff that they like. That reinforcement loop is really, really fun, but oftentimes you can't really have that kind of direct relationship with your players, because you're bringing in a new set of playtesters that you're putting under a non-disclosure agreement, and sending them on their way, and then bringing in another group in, so you get fresh eyes. Is there's one thing I'm excited about is building fun games that help people spend quality time with their friends. But the way that we want to do that is by building a community of people who are excited to be on this development journey with us, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Trying to get some CTAs in there for people to join the community.
Nice.
All over the place, but I'm hoping we can edit some of that into something coherent.
Get some commentary in the background.
Yeah, sorry. The toddler's unhappy. I think it's nap time out there, and she's grumpy about it.
It's nap time in here too, baby. I'm so tired.